I am Liz Booth, and I am the managing editor of Africa Ahead, and we are a publishing house concentrating on sustainability and resilience in the African insurance market. And this obviously is an incredibly important part of that conversation. So to just give us a very quick introduction to our topic, and then we'll get going with some questions. So over to you, Simba.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much to all the panelists who have made time to join our conversation today. My name is Simba Mukonzo. I am the CEO of Mukfin, an insurance and reinsurance intermediary based in Johannesburg, and we do business right across Africa. We have quite an interesting topic. I hope we have enough time to examine the issues under discussion, but just to put matters into perspective, our topic is, does poor customer experience hold back insurance penetration across Africa? And under that topic, we are going to look at two key issues. The first one being, does the insurance industry match client expectations and perceptions with regards to policy coverage and the ultimate benefits enjoyed by clients? And then the second major point of discussion will be, how can insurers adopt and use relevant innovative solutions to improve insurance penetration in Africa? So that's the topic under discussion list.
Thank you very much indeed, Simba. So you've already outlined our two questions. So the first way that we were going to think about those were just asking how people rate the current customer experience of buying insurance. Obviously, we need a benchmark of where we think the customer experience is at the moment. I don't know who would like to start us off on that. Sonji, I can see you in full view on my screen, so maybe I can pick on you to start us off. But as a non-insurer then, Sonji, what is your experience of buying insurance? Do you find it an easy process, or do you think insurers have a lot more to improve?
Yeah, there's much more to be improved on because, as a customer, insurance is not really pretty much understood. And so when it's not understood, then also there's a lot of lack of trust, if I may say, in insurance. So it would help if there was much more knowledge on it and it being made easy as well as open, not people to think that there's a lot of things hidden in the fine print. And then at the end of it also, when it comes to claims, if the process could be made a bit easier. I know you can't have a one-size-fits-all kind of, process. But yes, if it could be made easier, because I have a terrible experience on claims for my car, which got into an accident and was written off. I had to be paid 6 months later after signing the discharge voucher. And it took, I was actually paid in post-dated checks, like 5 of them or 4 of them. So, yeah, so just that bit from, people to understand clearly what insurance is, just to gain more trust, as well as when it comes to claims. Because with one bad experience, then there's word of mouth, then it just kills the insurance industry altogether, yeah.
Absolutely. So having heard what Sonji says, Mustafa, would you like to come in and kind of give an insurance perspective on this?
Mustafa Sachak. I used to be the group CEO of the Masawara Insurance Group, but I've taken a new role now and driving customer experience and leadership development for the Masawara Group. So nice to interact with all of you. I think maybe it was good that actually she started as a non-insurance and a client. And I think we actually keep harping about the low penetration rate that we have. And a lot of it is our own doing, really, the insurance industry. And it's what Sonjay just said, right? We make it just difficult. The whole process, the customer experience process, there's a lot of friction in the entire customer journey in the insurance space. Now it depends, sometimes, whether you're doing general or life. So it tends to vary. But overall, if you look at what Amazon says, right, why have they been so successful? Jeff Bezos says, my job is to remove the friction between the customer and Amazon, right? And our industry, we have such a long way to go. We just have too much friction, She had a car, and to get paid after 6 months, we just put in a lot of these sort of hurdles in the way. So until we sort of, as an industry, resolve that, we're going to struggle with, low penetration rates. When I'm outside socially, you actually do not want to tell people you're in the insurance industry, because they always have something, and especially in Zim. The first thing they tell me, oh, Hypen, I had this policy, it went from here to there, and all those kind of things. So we have a reputation problem, we have a whole host of things, right? And we can go further into detail, but she's sort of spot on these things. And we measure at Zimnap, we have a customer experience and engagement center where we actually measure what the real pain points are for, and they tell you, why do I have to go from here to there? When I have a claim, why do you ask me for this? So absolutely. I can go on and on for this, because my new role actually is, head of customer experience for the group Masawara. I've moved from Zimnap, and that's some of the things I'm looking at. But I'll let some other people, chip in.
Malenga, you were very keen to come in. Would you like to come in and add to that?
Sure, Liz. Thanks. And thanks, Simba, for this. Mlenga Kashiwa. So I worked in Zambia for 14 years in the insurance industry there. I'm now based in South Africa at Hollard International. I'm the senior manager in charge of technical underwriting, treaty and facultative. I think it's just, mine is a build up from Mustafa's. And I like to view customer experience from two sides. On one side, you have the customer's experience with the insurance products in general. And on the other side, you have the customer experience with the different cultures in the insurance companies that they interact with. So when we talk about how do we rate customer experience, I think it's always good to look at the two sides of customer experience, or the two sides of the face of customer experience. As to whether these two sides are part of a dichotomy is subject to debate, but what we're saying is, on the product side, customers are going to measure or rate their experience based on the ability for the product to meet their needs. Whereas on the insurance company side, or the interaction with the actual insurance organization, they're going to, it becomes more complex, because now they're basing their rating on the ability, or rather the cultures, the processes within that organization. And on the product side, you find that the solutions are a bit more different, because the problem there is really traditional and inherent to insurance, having been built on archaic principles that are sort of viewed as inflexible or rigid. It's become a very bad perception of insurance by the customer over the years.
Thank you. So then, with that sort of feeling that there is a bad expectation, do you think it then impacts on the insurance penetration in Africa? Simba, you've raised your hand. Do you want to come in on that?
Yes, it does. I'm just going to read one of the extracts that I've got, and one of the difficulties that I had is actually trying to find a basis to get a fair measurement of customer satisfaction, and I think that probably one of the challenges that we have, that as companies in Africa, probably we are actually not doing enough to measure client satisfaction. If it's being done, probably it's being done in small pockets. So I managed to pick up in South Africa, and I think South Africa is one of the most advanced insurance markets in the world. The PwC South Africa, they've a survey or a research that they do under the South African Insurance Sentiment, and I've got here a report for 2022, and their opening remark is, despite South African insurers' best efforts to leverage advanced campaign content to steer customer sentiment on social media in a more positive direction, the claims process remains a major pain point for consumers across the industry. And under that discussion, they pick up two major issues, which is the first one, the communication with clients, and then the second one, which ties up to what the previous speakers have spoken about, is the lengthy process of claims handling. And I think if we are to look solidly at the insurance business per se, our measurement of satisfaction is so much tied to the claims process, because that's where our product is actually tested. So the amount of time, in as much as some of the claims are complicated, there is also an element of saying, how are we communicating that with our clients in terms of managing their expectations? So very critical points there, what the former speakers have spoken about, the lengthy time that it takes to settle claims. That's a major pain point that we need to resolve as an insurance industry.
Thank you very much, Simba. Noku, you've had your hand up for a little while. Would you like to come in?
Yes. My name is Nokutaba Mtunzi. I am an underwriter in the specialized division at Botswana Insurance Company, and I'm also the Chief Products and Innovation Officer. My observation is we are still very much as insurers selling products that are just off the shelf, and we've not come to address the customer of today. What are the expectations of the customer of today? And in most cases, they want very personalized experiences. So you find that the products that we're giving them, we give them very limited options, yet the customer of today, they want to have a very varied and a very diverse type of options that they can choose from. But what we then do as insurers is just to take the product that is existing off the shelf and we give that customer. And one, we are already limiting ourselves in terms of penetration. When you've got an option to give them a variety of products that are available, you've got an option to find out what their needs are. Because once you take the product off the shelf, you are highly unlikely addressing the exact need of that customer. So I think it's for us now to make sure that all the options are available, and not just the options in terms of products, but in options in terms of how are we accessed as insurers. Do we have various channels that are convenient for the customer, not necessarily convenient for us as the insurers? So for me, for penetration to get deep and for growth to get deep, we need to understand the needs of the customer. We need to personalize those experiences. We need to understand deeply the needs of the customer of today.
Ayari, I think you're on mute, but I know you wanted to come in.
Hey, I'm Yara Souza. I'm the founder of Mozambique Women for Inclusive Insurance, as well as the underwriting manager at Emeritus Re Mozambique. So I would like to add up to the culture issue and having in mind the cultural demands of the niche population being a target. So while we discuss the role of poor customer experience, it is imperative that we also recognize the significance of cultural factors in shaping insurance attitudes and behaviors. By acknowledging and respecting these cultural nuances, we can also develop strategies that not only improve customer service, but also align insurance products with the unique needs and values of the African people. Because we operate in different systems, and most of the times, the products that are brought to our tables are just produced outside our normal environment, and we don't take in consideration the impact that it has in our normal culture, in our normal ways of seeing things. So there is need to shape everything new that we bring into the African market. It is the only way that we can attract the population and try to increase penetration in our continent.
Thank you very much, Ayara. You've actually come on really to our next question, which is really, how does the insurance industry improve that experience? What does it need to do? Jabala, what do you think of the conversation so far, and what can the industry be doing better than it is now?
Thanks, Liz. My name is Jabala. I'm at Madison General Insurance Company in Zambia. I'm the Chief Executive Officer. It's a delight to share the platform with all of you, and I've enjoyed your submissions thus far. I think for me, I look at it from two angles. First of all, I think it's consumer education is totally lacking. I think we need to do much more in terms of education. And I'm glad Ayara, I'm sure she does more of that. Financial inclusion is critical. And for me, I still go back. As the continent, we've spoken for many, many years. Those of you who have attended the AIO conference in a number of jurisdictions, one of the resolutions that always pops up is changing the curriculum. If you look at it, most of us will encounter insurance only probably when you start work. There's nothing like insurance in the curriculum from the time people start learning, which is so different from banking and other financial activities. For us, we've tried, but we are not succeeding. It's something that as practitioners, we should try and sell. It's only very recent in Zambia that we're even seeing a degree in insurance being introduced in the various institutions. So you can see, even those of us who are working, we don't also understand insurance and how it operates. So I think we should do much more in terms of consumer education. And also, I think we should also be more proactive as insurers, because the dynamics now have changed and we still remain closed up and very conservative in the way we approach our customers. First of all, our customers have changed. Their requirements have also changed. And where they are is also different. And I think I think it was Noktaba. She talked about us finding ways of accessing, being accessible. We need to be more flexible and more innovative in the way we package our products. For now, I think all of us are just doing standard products and limited to what we are comfortable with. And truly, if we did probably take a lot of time to do customer surveys, look at what their needs are, I think we'll probably be able to bring in much more in terms of meeting the expectations of our customers. But nonetheless, I still commend the insurers. We've seen a lot of changes across the continent in terms of the types of products that we are encountering now. Even the way insurance is trying to be sold, I think everybody's now embracing technology, finding ways that customers can access information. I do agree, yes, the claims process may be tedious, but again, that goes with lack of knowledge. If we're at the point of selling, we are not advising them and educating them on how to process a claim should be lodged, that also comes to haunt us at the time there's a claim. But we need to be looking at ways of making it easier for people to understand what we do, how we do it, and how we fulfill our promise. I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, Jabala. Edmond, do you want to pop on your microphone and come in?
And thank you very much, Liz, and thanks very much to all the previous speakers. I'm Edmond Mangwana. I'm a general manager at Alliance General Insurance Company based in Lesotho. I think from when I joined in, the issue of consumer education, and I think I agree 100% with Mr. Lubwe when he talks about, if we look at the way insurance as a service has been introduced to us, most of it has been at the time when we went to work. When you went into college, you studied something else and only encountered insurance as just something that is passing by your way. And only when you were looking for other options did you come head on with insurance or a requirement for insurance. I am based in Lesotho here. It was only at the end of last year that we have introduced the very basic certificate of proficiency in insurance. So when it comes to all tertiary institutions, we do not have insurance being taught in any of the colleges, and we are starting right at the bottom. Now, when you want to look at the balance of the knowledge of insurance, we do have a better penetration when you look at the micro side of things, looking at a funeral insurance. But when you look at property or business properties type of insurance, in this market, it is still looked as an elite product. Who buys elite products? It should be somebody that is a CEO and buys an expensive car and has got to insure it. It has got to be a business that has been running for years, and they understand that there is risk, and should there be any perils that damage and lead to financial loss, then obviously the company might fold. So there is a serious challenge in terms of consumer education, but we may not just leave it at consumer education, but it has got to start from the grassroots, from the education curriculum, the school system, understanding that for you to come to school, obviously there is some investment that has been put onto you, and we're expecting that when it comes to school leaving time and going into tertiary, there is a full appreciation of insurance as a financial service and as a backbone to the economy.
My view is, when it comes to consumer education, is one area where, as insurers, we can join forces, whether through our various associations, be it the brokers associations, insurers associations, reinsurers associations, where we can join forces to get the word out in terms of what it is that we provide. We've seen that in various markets, even some regulators have set the guidelines about governance, and part of that is it is now the responsibility, or rather is now the honors to take out consumer education now relies on board members. So this is how important and how serious some regulators are viewing the consumer education, and is one area, like I've said, that I view as an area where we don't need to be competitors, but we need to join our forces so that the word can get out more and people will understand more about what we are buying. I know for sure that even myself, as a buyer of life insurance, because I'm in short-term insurance, I learned a lot about life insurance during COVID-19, of which if that particular education hadn't reached me, it was going to be unfortunate had I been affected or passed away during that COVID era. So for me, it's one area where we really need to utilize all the resources that are there in the industry to get the word out about exactly what products do we offer and how consumers benefit from insurance, where we take selling beyond just selling, taking it out to say these are the products and these are your needs and this is the gaps that these products are going to close in terms of us managing the individual or risk that corporations may face.
Yeah, and just to add on, Liz, from where Noku has left off from, I think beyond consumer awareness and bringing up to speed the customer about the products, the features, the processes, and so on and so forth, there's the whole need for us to break the whole mistrust barrier, which is more or less the elephant in the room as well. We've got a number of customers or potential customers that just do not trust the insurance industry because of the reputation. And I think I like the previous sentiments around educating the professional as well, because I think educating the professional gets us a step closer to having an industry that can be trusted, because if the practitioners of that industry are professional in the way they go about the processes, some of the factors that are leading to mistrust at the time of the claim or at onboarding stage can fall off. So I think maybe the grassroots approach of going back and saying, are we educating the professional enough for them to be able to conduct or carry this forward? Do they know what the code of conduct is, and all those professional ethos that need to be adhered to? That in itself will drive us to a point where we can have professionals that can, sort of service customers in a manner that will build that trust over the time, such that by the time we come to customer awareness and all these other initiatives that have been talked about, we already have the trust, sort of embedded as well.
Simba, you wanted to come in, and then Ayara, do you want to follow Simba in?
Yes, Liz, thank you. And part of my contribution ties up with what Mlenga just said in terms of the insurance industry putting in a lot of work to deal with the confidence issue. We need to be able to understand that the sole reason why people buy insurance is for them to have the confidence that they are secured. They need financial security. So we need to make sure that our clients have got less anxiety issues as far as insurance is concerned. I also want to pick up on one of the positives that we can pick from the insurance industry. Edmo mentioned the funeral products. I think if you look at Africa, it's one of the most successful product that has been developed and distributed in Africa. And part of the reason why is that there is a general understanding that the rate of repudiated claims in funeral assurance is very minimal. And the second aspect about funeral assurance is it actually brings in more benefits in addition to the core product of a payout when there's a funeral. But the industry has actually managed to build additional benefits around the core product. For example, if you look at the social issues, addressing the emotional issues, and so forth. And I think there is something to learn from the funeral product that can be applied to the general product, whether it's the whole life policies or it's the general short-term policies. But the more and more that we make our clients feel that there is something of benefit from relating with the insurance company, relating with the insurance industry, we should be able to have more word of mouth marketing, more word of mouth campaigns, which is a very powerful tool to convince clients to purchase insurance products.
Thank you very much, Simba. Ayara, you wanted to come in, and then Mustafa, do you want to follow in just straight after Ayara's spoken?
I wanted to touch on communication. Working with the underserved now, one of the things that we realized is that communication is key, and the insurers need to clear and transparently communicate policy terms, coverage, and benefits to clients. We are in a context where language barriers and complex terminology that our policy wordings have a lot of impact, because most of the time the people that we are trying to reach don't understand exactly what are we trying to sell. So it comes to a point where we need to make it simple. We need to pick our existing policy wordings and try and put in a way that anyone really can understand it and can have make a clear decision based on the documents that we have. We do have situations whereby we try to educate our underserved population, and we try to explain to them, but when it comes to the policy wording being shared by the insurance companies, it becomes tricky, because even for us as insurance professionals, there are some terms that they become really, really tricky. And we do have to try and put it in a more, let me say, normal way so that everyone can be on the same page. So it's something that we can work on. If we are dealing with the African continent, we need to make things simple and we remove all the complexities that we have now.
To add to what Noktaba said earlier about, our products are just sort of off the shelf, and really on IRA, I like what it is. And having been in the industry for so long, our products are catered to the 10% of the population, right? We haven't catered and thought about the 90% of the population. But it's not speaking to them on a cultural standpoint, and also the way we market it and distribute it. So I'll take an example of, when people come to my house, I get an electrician come sometimes, carpenter, plumber, all the artisans. They all actually have an income, but we don't have any product that suits them or talks to them, right? And so all of these guys, we could have some income protections products for them or anything. But if you just then go and talk to them endowment and life insurance, it will not resonate with them. So I just wanted to add, I think, especially what if IRA is doing and pushing this education and so the industry has to do a lot around that. Otherwise, like I said to you earlier, we'll keep complaining about low penetration rates.
Thank you very much indeed, Mustafa. Sonja, do you want to come in? And then Simon, perhaps we can turn the conversation to some of the solutions and the way that innovation and technology plays a part. So Sonja, do you want to go first? And then we'll introduce Simon.
Yeah, mine is more of a question because, I picked one of the things of the solutions is to, learn from the success stories like the funeral insurance. So just to ask mainly the Southern African, colleagues, why is this product so, so popular? And what are the successes of it? Because it's not popular in Eastern Africa, but I've had a lot of it in the Southern African side. So what makes it that popular? Or what are the successes from it?
Okay, I'll take that one. What people believe in certain parts of Southern Africa is a dignified funeral. So they'll invest all their money to ensure that when their loved ones pass away, they are given that dignified send off. So it becomes one of those very, very critical products that people start to buy. And then you find that's the first product that even a new graduate will start working, will think of. Even the lowly paid average worker, the first product that they think of is to buy a funeral, mainly because of the dignity they want to give to their loved ones when they pass away.
So just to understand, who actually is the policy holder? Who buys the insurance? So you're buying it for someone else to give them a dignified send-off? Let's say like you're buying for your aged parents, or you're buying it for yourself?
So you buy it for yourself. You can include your parents. You can include your relatives, including the distant relatives, where you know that should something happen to them, we are also called in to contribute. So in most cases, people do not have those savings where they can easily contribute towards that particular funeral. So the best way for us to save for such events is for us to make sure that we've got a funeral policy and those individuals are named. So you find that some have close to 30 family members that you can add to your policy.
So I'm picking then, this has spoken a lot to the Southern African culture, because that's not the case in Kenya. It's sort of like, the M-Pesa, and M-Pesa speaks a lot to Kenyan market because we do a lot of that, sending money here and there to our relatives, from the rural areas and all that. That's why it's popular. So it spoke a lot to the culture. And I believe someone mentioned about, let's have either products which tap into the culture, because in Kenya, if I may say, or in Eastern Africa, that's not the culture. People think of when they die, the ones who remain are the ones who will whether give them a dignified send-off or not, but they're really not bothered about that.
It's interesting how it varies, because I know in West Africa, in Ghana, there's a huge industry around funerals, and so that people do want some cover. Simba, I'm going to let you come in, and then both Edmore and Chabala want to come in. And I am very keen that we get Simon involved, because he hasn't spoken yet at all. He's sitting there very quietly, so we'll give him a chance in just a second.
Yes, very, very, very interesting topic there. But I think I brought up the issue of the funeral assurance industry because they've managed to create value for clients, in the sense that if you look at the core product of funeral assurance, it's supposed to respond on the event of the death of someone and allow for a dignified burying, in terms of burying the dead person. But what the industry have done is to then build around that core product and provide extra benefits which people identify with. You look at the provision of transport, provision of food, providing a tent to shelter the mourners when they are gathered. But in addition to that, there's a huge social benefit. If you look at the way it's structured around in South Africa, where it's structured around stokvels, where a number of people group together, contribute money, and then as a group, they go and buy insurance products, which means instead of that product being solely for the purpose of someone waiting for the day when they die, they actually extend that product to actually enjoying benefits while the individual is still alive. So our call was to say, let's look at our traditional insurance products and see how can we build value around the additional products, around the traditional products, and build value and benefits around those products.
Thank you. Edmore, do you want to come in quickly, and then Chabala, and then we will bring you in, Simon, to talk about how technology is playing its part in all of this.
Yeah, thank you very much. This is just to add on. I liked when she said in Kenya, the loved one that remained behind are the one that is going to give you a dignified funeral. And I think it is exactly the same thing from where I grew up in Zimbabwe. It's exactly the same thing. But it's quite different when you move further down south. I spent 7 years living in South Africa, and people are keen to give their loved ones a dignified funeral. I moved into the smaller economy of Lesotho, where when you look at the whole industry, we hardly clock more than 2.5 billion in terms of insurance premium. But when you look at the larger chunk of that, it is coming from the micro insurance product, which is the funeral services. So we did quite an extensive research as to find out exactly how did we get there? Because a person that does not work, who is a hustler, who sells maize mealies and all like that, and he knows I am the breadwinner, they make it a point that they've got a funeral policy so that they can be in a position to give a dignified funeral to their loved ones if they pass on. So the model in Lesotho is such that they use the popular sport to gain penetration. So football teams. Football is one of the most popular sports around the world. And here you find insurance companies, they compete to pick football teams so that they sponsor them. It is not that they're going to pump a lot of money into the football teams, but the football teams becomes the owner of the product. So let me just give an example. In Zambia, we've got a football team called Power Dynamos. It's going to be called Power Dynamos Funeral Policy. So it means all those football supporters that are supporters of Power Dynamos, they want to have a funeral policy, but it's also associated to their hobby, which is the football team and the team that they love. And other items as well is how the insurance companies have managed to speak to the consumer. Somebody is a consumer, but they do not have a bank account, but they do have a cell phone. They do not necessarily need to have a smartphone, but they have got a cell phone which can make a call, and all these mobile money operations can use that as long as they've got a cell phone line mobile money, M-Pesa, EcoCash, and we are seeing a lot more others partnering with insurance companies to provide that particular. So it is quite a lot that has been done on this particular product in terms of to aid the penetration. We do have a funeral where somebody is laid to rest and everything you think it is gone. It's almost that there's going to be a party after that, and they call it an after party, and everybody is going to attend. So it is addressing a very key component of our life, but mixing it and aligning with it with people's social lives and enjoyment.
Thank you very much, Edmore. I know, Chibala, you'd like to come in on this one too, and then Simon, perhaps we can talk about how technology can help spread the word of insurance and help that communication. Chibala, do you want to make any comments?
Yeah, just a quick one. Obviously, if the success of funeral cover is a key only to South Africa, mainly. But nonetheless, if you look at our jurisdiction, individuals rarely would go out and buy a funeral policy. But what we've seen is the corporates are the ones taking up that role because obviously they're looking at the economics, given the staff that it's basically to improve staff welfare. So you find a lot of them who subscribe. Our culture here, you don't celebrate death. It's you can't throw a party after death. You'll be considered irrespectful to do that. But those are cultural issues. But the reason I said I wanted to comment here is we talked about trust and perception. What has brought us to that level where people do not trust us? Maybe that's what Simon must look at. Why are we not trusted as insurers or players in the industry? Because insurers is not only the underwriters, but even the intermediaries are included in that. What is causing that, and how do we overcome it? Because has it been a current development, or it has been there even before, and we'll fail to address that issue to a level where we will not address the penetration if we do not resolve that matter? That is what I wanted to just bring out and see whether my colleagues and friends here would want to discuss it in more detail.
Thank you very much, Chibala. And Simon, I mean, I wanted to bring you in at this point for several reasons, really. One was that you work with the insurance industry, but you're not an insurer. So giving that sort of outside perspective, you know, how do you do things differently in your world that the insurers might learn from? And then obviously picking up on Mustafa's point that a lot of the insurance industry in Africa really only services that 10%, and the 90% doesn't get reached. So how do you see technology then playing a role and making it personal enough, but coming back to this conversation point, that people feel that they're actually being engaged with? Because that sometimes big technology can seem a bit soulless, but hopefully you're going to tell us that there's ways of innovation that are making differences.
Hey everybody, Simon Richardson. I am the Vice President for Equisoft. I look after the EMEA and APAC region, so Europe, Middle East, Africa, Asia Pacific, and we are an insurance and wealth management global software solution provider. I really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you very, very much. And just before I launch into the response, I mean, I have been listening, and it is really encouraging to hear all of my colleagues refer to these challenges that we have very openly and acknowledging the changes that are needed. I mean, there's cultural nuances that need to be respected, not only how the products are positioned, but also how the products are being distributed and serviced. And I suppose ultimately, technology is an enabler. It's a facilitator. It can often be quite a powerful one, but it's only really effective once the real problem and therefore the sort of objective is properly understood. So innovation and technology does have a role to play in addressing some of the challenges that we've been discussing. I think, there's been a lot of discussion around customer experience and product positioning and the distribution. And I think using those internal and external stakeholder inputs are really crucial. There's been a lot of talk about the products themselves, which ones have been successful. Ultimately, once you are meeting the appropriate need, then the service and the experience of how those products are accessed becomes the real differentiator. And I think in our markets, there's a strong argument that making sure that accessibility is at the forefront of our decision making and how we put the customer first is absolutely paramount. So the product options are important. How those products are understood is also vitally important. That financial literacy that comes up as a very firm trend, and rightly so. Those are very crucial dimensions. But using innovation and looking at the innovation that is coming out to see how those new trends and movements can be applied in the business, that's crucial. So artificial intelligence is something that is very topical at the moment. I think that as a theme is going to have a very significant impact on the way that we interact with our customers, the way we distribute the products. And more than that is the self-sufficiency. So there's been a theme of, why is it that the trust around insurance just isn't there? And honestly, it's because a very negative experience, when somebody makes that big decision to now take their hard-earned money and effectively protect themselves or their loved ones, if that seems to kind of disappear into the ether, then obviously we're going to have a trust issue. So the more you put the power back into the hands of the policyholders, of the people who ultimately are the benefactors of these products. And somebody mentioned, I really like the phrase about delivering on our commitment, delivering on the promise that those products are created for. A little bit more self-sufficiency, making those products available in the channels that are the preferred ones for the consumers. All of those things ultimately roll up into establishing and building the trust that we want for our products and with our customers. The more transparency there is around what happens when the premium is given for that insurance product, or the business is submitted, or a transaction or some sort of a change, the more transparency there is, the more our consumers are able to do those things using their preferred medium. I think the more trust we're establishing, and that's the role that technology has to play as that enabler. I've covered a few themes, and I am conscious that we're running short of time, but I'm happy to kind of elaborate on any aspect of the many broad kind of topics that I've just voiced over there. Anybody got any observations or comments? Liz?
Thank you, Simon. Hands are going up all over the place. Malenga, you won the race. Your hand went up first. Let's come in. We have only got a few minutes left, so just to bear that in mind.
I'll make it quick, please. Thanks. And very interesting contribution by Simon over there. And I wanted to look at it in a different way with maybe insurance terminologies attached to that as well. So we did talk about, one of the reasons for the low penetration being, the products that are available not being fit for purpose in this, ever-changing environment. So the customer needs are ever changing. We have products that are static. So I think one of the solutions that technology will bring is that nimbleness and agility for us to to be able to respond quickly and provide those solutions quickly in this ever-changing time. Then secondly was the issue that Mr. Lumboe, asked to say, where did we go wrong in terms of trust? So on the trust issue, there are two ways of looking at it. And I think one, Simon already alluded to it, the fact of a bad customer experience over the years decays the trust relationship. So I think technology will be able to amend some of these customer experiences through cutting down some of the post-sale barriers, to make claims and etc. But at a more broader level is also the issue of information asymmetry, which has been an inherent problem in insurance. And I believe technology is able to solution for information asymmetry as well. Those were my 2 cents.
Thank you very much indeed. We are about to run out over time, but Simba, hopefully you're happy if we overrun slightly and everybody is happy to stay. So I would quite like to hear the final kind of hands going up. Mustafa, you were the next in the race. Would you like to just come back in? And I know you were saying that you were looking at this quite closely from your perspective when we started the conversation. So I'm wondering if there's anything that you've heard whilst we've been talking that kind of resonates and that you'll take out of this.
Yeah, all I'm going to say, look, in the interest of time, is once we've got the products that talk to the majority of the market, the only way we're going to be able to do it is through technology. We've got to adopt technology from distribution side, and also when it comes to the processing and claims. I don't know how, I think most of the people will have looked at companies like Lemonade, in the US, and how they process claims using AI. So it has to be, for us, that's all I'm going to say. Technology will become, like Simon will say, the enabler. But first, let's understand the customer, the right products, and because just putting technology is not going to help. We've got to do and that's what Steve Jobs says. First, take the customer, what they want, and then the technology. Yeah, thanks.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Mustafa. Edmore, do you want to just come in very quickly? And then I know Ayara and Noku wanted to come in. And then maybe Simon, you'll like to come back, and then we'll finish off with Simba.
Yeah, thank you. I think I agree. Yes, technology is the way to go. But the challenge that will be there is how much of the potential population that we would like to reach are accessible to the technology, and looking at the part of the world that we are in. We are in Africa, we are in Southern Africa, and we still have our heavy population in the rural areas where technology is still a challenge to reach there. So it will be one of those things that probably it will need government to invest in, so that most of the populace have got access to technology. I just wanted to address one thing about trust that Mr. Shabalala brought in into the insurance industry. I think it's an old age. When I got to school, I knew very well that it was said, if you have suffered a loss and it is going to be covered by insurance, you must get ready to buy a new pair of shoes, because you are going to go to the insurance company a long time until your shoe sole is finished. So you need to get ready to get that money, and the first thing that you replace is your pair of shoes. So I really do not have the reason exactly why it was like that, but one thing that we have looked over and over again was the language in insurance policies was the hell. When I started insurance, I remember being sent to a course to talk about bonds and guarantees and fidelity guarantee. For all of you that are in short term, you can just imagine what type of torture was that. So the language, the legal language, the exclusions, exceptions, the small print that was there. When somebody has got a claim, that is the only time that they are going to be taught and told about what exactly is not covered by the product that one bought. So right now we are having a situation where we are trying so hard to see if we can tell the client, say, you are buying this product of insurance, you are going to be paid in the event of a loss, but you must make sure that this does not happen. If this happens, you are not going to be paid. South Africa has gone away, I think, a mile ahead, where they introduced the protecting the customer. Now we have got the client advice forms and all of that, so that almost everything that is in the policy is quickly summarized, and the client has got to acknowledge that this was explained to me and I understood, all leading to the client understanding the product and the insurer, and vice versa, so that we can try and increase and improve the penetration.
Thank you very much, Edmore. Noku, do you want to come in just very, very quickly so that we can fit everybody's last thoughts in?
Yes. I'm a firm believer of using technology for consumer education, using community platforms where you bring all the customers, including your crowd, who are not yet your customers, and having models around engagement where you can start to reward them. But my question to Simon is, how do we get to that point as insurers where we are not implementing systems or technology that is already a legacy wherever it's coming from? How do we get to a point where this technology that we want to implement is scalable? How do you get insurers like ourselves here to start to test business ideas, to use certain methodologies, so that all this technology that we're talking about that we want to implement will then work in our favor as businesses as well as for our customers?
There you go, Simba. We have the next topic for our next round. Insurances. There's an awful lot to talk about. Ayara, do you want to just come in very, very quickly before we go back to Simon?
Yes, definitely. It will be a quick one. One of the things that I've been analyzing now is that we need to build a strong ecosystem within the insurance industry in Africa. If we manage to develop the ecosystem, we can create partnerships with healthcare providers, with the fintechs, we can create cooperatives within the underserved population that we are dealing with, where we will put together people with the same interests and within the same line of business. At some point, we need to create around the insurers an ecosystem of organizations, cooperatives, and players willing to help either on financial education, either on technology, so that it can complement itself as an ecosystem, a strong ecosystem, and we can do a lot of things together.
Thank you very much, Ira. Good positive point. That Chabala's just reminded us that the new Insurance Act in Zambia now requires that a key fact statement is issued to the client at the point of buying a product. And I know that's something that happens in the UK and across Europe too, that the client kind of can't finish the buying of a policy until they've ticked certain boxes. But Simon, that comes back to you, I suppose, about that whole technology enabling insurers to share that information a bit more.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose, look, again, a number of different kind of themes that are coming through from the questions, and it's really, I use the word encouraging, but it's a very interesting discussion and challenge that we're facing, and where do you start? So, Edmore was saying about, the practicalities and the realities of the consumers that we are trying to support, and that they don't always have access to the latest and greatest technologies. I suppose that's one of the things about how to approach this sensibly. You look at the end-to-end customer journey, and you determine for your business and your consumers what makes the most sense in terms of where to start. Where are you going to have the most bang for your buck and the most impact in that customer experience? Because it's impossible to fight on every front. I mean, you just that's how technology itself starts to get a bit of a bad rap when you try to do too much too soon, and you spread yourself too thin. So this is the thing about technology. For some organizations, the priority will be on automating or improving the way in which claims are handled, because that's an element of where the trust has broken down for some organizations, maybe more than others. And so improving that process and making sure that that customer promise, the reason why they bought that policy or purchased the product because of their financial need is now being met as quickly and in line with their expectations as we can possibly do it. So sometimes the technology will be more on that sort of core back-end administration. It doesn't always have to start with the digital front end. Malenga was saying about how we need to be agile. Sometimes agility can mean looking at the way in which we launch products that are meeting a financial need more than some of the products have traditionally. Sometimes it means making good products that we've now created more accessible. And so, there was a question around how do we avoid legacy? Look, this is a very philosophical but very relevant question. The reality is technology is moving so quickly. Every time you choose a thing, you should just know that that thing is likely to be surpassed or outdated very shortly after you have chosen it. So, but that's not a reason not to invest in technology, because otherwise you're going to fall too far behind, and it's going to become increasingly difficult actually to get anywhere close to what your competitors are doing and what's happening in the market. So there are a number of different ways to avoid settling on a legacy technology, but I would say the most important thing is to go back to what is it that we as an organization, each individually and we as an industry, are challenged with the most. That's where we focus the energy. You solve some of the problems there, and then you go to the next priority, and so it goes. But it's not a one thing and then it's done. It really is an ongoing journey of trying something, checking what the results are, making the refinements, trying something new, checking what the results are. And that is a pattern that we just will never kind of fully emerge from. Like that's the technology recipe to avoid getting stuck on any kind of, the term that was used is the legacy. And then I think in terms of some of the other kind of areas to focus on, it is making sure that however consumers want to interact with us or engage, that's what we have to do. That's where we have to focus the efforts. I heard the shoe analogy, and if one of the things that we can do to improve that is having kiosks in the branches, or even just improving, like taking a process that has 5 steps and making it 3 steps, already you're starting to win in that customer experience race.
Thank you very much indeed, Simon. So Simba, I'm going to hand back to you to close out. I hope everybody's seen in the chat the note from Edmore as well about building trust there too. But Simba, would you like to kind of close out and kind of sum up what you think we've all been talking about for the last hour and a bit, and what your takeaway is from today?
Thank you very much, Liz. Look, I think the discussion over the past hour is actually opened up other more relevant topics, which I think will need to be explored in the future, either on this platform or other platforms, but definitely very critical issues that need to be tackled in the insurance industry. One of the most powerful statements that also drives me is that without customers, businesses have no reason to exist. However, without satisfied customers, businesses will exist with great difficulty. So we have a choice in the industry whether we want to exist with difficulty or we want to exist and grow, which is the question that we're trying to answer here, to say, how do we continue to improve the insurance penetration in Africa? And it all boils down to what are the feelings of our clients as an insurance industry. If they have ill feelings, bad feelings, it's going to be a very difficult journey. Part of what we have to do definitely is to look at technology and say, how can we make sure that we resolve some of the challenges using technology? Most of our panelists here have discussed this issue, that the mode or the nature of our client is changing on a day-to-day basis. And I just want to give an example. A few years back, our relationship with our bank used to be such that You only go to the bank when you need to withdraw your money. You go to the bank when you need to know your bank balance. You need to go to a bank when you need to do a transaction. We were not involved as a customer. Where we are sitting right now, whether you're sitting in the rural areas or you are in the most privileged places in town, you have direct interaction with your bank, whether by SMS, by app, or by whatever. If you look at the insurance industry, I want to put it probably in the most harshest way we can put it. We are still having that old model where our clients only relate with us when there's a claim. There is no interaction in between, and I think there's a huge for technology to cover that gap, and also for technology to streamline the process. As we've discussed, the greater part of frustration of our current clients is they are frustrated by the process. It's not so much that insurers don't pay claims. We pay claims, but after 6 months, after 5 months, technology has got a very bigger role to play in streamlining the process. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed, Simba. I think, as you say, there's an awful lot more to talk about. I think I've got a zillion questions coming off this conversation. There are so many areas that we could have explored today, and I think I didn't want to get us taken down a particular channel to ignore the wider conversation, but I think that we can have another conversation on this very easily because there is so much to say. So, but for now, I just wanted to say thank you all very much for finding time to join us. I hope that you've got something out of it and that you will join us again when we do this later in the year. Thank you all very much for joining, and I will say goodbye to you all and hope to see you all again soon. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Liz.
Thank you.
Goodbye. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you so much, everyone, for making time to come and have a chat.